Craig, you sound slightly muffled again.
Let's see here.
Oh, wait, you kind of sound better now.
Better now?
In and out.
I think he sounds okay.
Sometimes it's fine.
Okay, I'm talking. Is it okay? I'm going to continue to talk.
Yeah, that's fine. It's fine for me anyway.
I'm going to mansplain.
God, I wish you would.
Until my audio works right.
Filibuster.
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah, the first 28-hour SwimFans episode.
Craig refuses to let anyone else talk.
and like I was saying,
you wouldn't believe the libidinality going on.
No, I like the idea that it would be like man explains like generic household, like babe, LEDs are way more efficient. Why'd you buy incandescent? Like why'd you buy incandescent bulbs? They're gonna burn out. All right, it's gonna end up in the landfill. Like what the like it's like verging on abuse. I'm like explaining like Thomas Edison back in the day. I'm just like I'm harming my partner with facts about light bulbs.
So you probably don't know this, but there was a light bulb cartel, and it was a real thing. And there's a lot of good videos on it. I can give you a few links if you need to.
Romantic partner owned by Facts and Logic.
So next time you think about talking about light bulb, just shut the fuck up. Seriously.
28-hour domination.
Incandescent incel gets owned by alpha LED male.
LED.
Beloved partner with pronouns shut down. Asked if you wanted to watch a movie tonight.
Craig Neeson destroys romantic partner 10 years younger than him.
Yeah, I know these. I would watch probably every one of those videos. And be like, I don't know what this looks like. Something to fall asleep to.
Gaslighting my partner in every color temperature.
I want to see what happens in that one.
Hello and welcome to SwimFans. Welcome to SwimFans Full Clip. This is your summer action movie series for the week. I am your co-host. Oh, there's nothing good to be in this one. I'm your co-host, Josh, strapped with C4 Mackenzie.
I'm infected with pockets full of bile, sir. I'm Craig Neeson.
Swim fans call that 3 queens. I'm Jen Hocking.
And back on the show, the podcast big brother of all time, Joel Hocking. Welcome back.
What's up, guys? I didn't pick a thing, but if I would be a Nerf football getting skeet shot in the desert.
Wish that were me. This week on the podcast,
see your local army recruiter if you'd like that.
I was gonna say we'll see how the new draft plays out.
Yeah, this could be prophetic.
This could be you quicker than you imagined.
This week on the show, we are talking 1999 David O. Russell film, Three Kings.
Just do it.
Okay, so if you haven't seen Three Kings, so this is the end of the Gulf War here, end of Operation Desert Storm. There are some U.S. soldiers, obviously still around, sort of wrapping up this sort of military operation, allegedly. But the soldiers are bored, right? They're partying. They're most of whatever sort of stuff you were seeing on the news seems to have come and gone. So our guys are sort of adrift. I don't remember any of the characters' names, so I'm gonna do the actors.
Yeah.
You've got George Clooney, and he's like the guy who's most in charge, and he's literally 2 weeks from retirement. But he clearly has a lot of disdain for the armed forces. He's quite jaded at this point in his life. And then you've got Ice Cube, whose character I believe is like second in command in like the lineup here. And he is the commanding officer of our third main character, Mark Wahlberg, who I think is the lowest ranked of the three. So nothing much is going on. until Wahlberg and his friend, who was played by Spike Jonze. So Wahlberg and Jones, harass a guy and find out that he's carrying a map in his ass. So they take the map and they go to Ice Cube to help translate it. Once Clooney sort of hears about this, he goes to find them. And Clooney's like, you know what this is? This is a map to all of the gold bullion that was stolen when Saddam invaded Kuwait. So we should follow the map, get the gold, then we don't have to return to any menial labor in our lives ever. And all three of the guys do work menial jobs back in the States. And they are, frustrated at being only Army reservists and haven't seen any quote unquote action in the war. So they agree to take this plan on for, riches and glory. So they go out there, they do all sorts of things like, shoot footballs with assault rifles. They follow the map and they get to a town here. They notice that like they're being pretty much ignored by all of the people in this sort of settlement. All of like the Iraqi Republican Guard are sort of like ignoring the troops because there's a ceasefire. They're just kind of letting them be. So they storm in, they don't find the gold. And they, one of the guys is like, oh, it's in another town. So they leave. But Clooney, who's like the street smartest of the pack, is like, no, I think he's lying. I think it's in this other spot. So they, finding the correct bunker, they find all of the gold, and they find a bunch of people, who are, anti-Saddam rebels, who are being, tortured and interrogated. So they set all those people free, because as soon as they leave, they're then caught again by the guard. Clooney's like, well, we can't leave them. But he only says this after, a woman who's begging for help from the American troops is killed right in front of them. So they violate the ceasefire. They kill a bunch of the guard there. And now, shit's gone crazy. But they agree that like, all right, so we have to take all of these people here now and get them to safety. So they are trying to escape with the gold in a truck. The guard who has re-rallied is like gassing them, all this kind of stuff. And so both trucks end up crashing. And Wahlberg's character is taken prisoner by the guard. The others are with like a rebel group underground. So Wahlberg is, he's interrogated, I suppose, by one of the guys he met earlier, who tells him, my family was murdered by American, empire, ruthlessly murdering for oil. You have a wife and kid. Damn, imagine if you didn't have a wife and kid anymore. Imagine how, that would feel. Meanwhile, the Americans, the small pocket of Americans and the rebels are sort of, meeting each other. The rebels are like, you can't leave us here. The Bush regime left us twisting in the wind after you said you would help, but the American troops pulled out, so you can't leave us here. And they're like, you're right, we can't. So they go to a rebel camp to get more supplies. They get all sorts of cars that were stolen from Kuwait as well. And so the sort of big action set piece comes into effect. They use the stolen cars to pretend to be Saddam and his entourage, which scares off most of the troops, but not all of them. They do the gunfighting, the action. They save Mark Wahlberg, but in the sort of struggle, Spike Jonze's character is fatally shot, and Mark Wahlberg's character is nearly fatally shot. And his lung is like constantly on the verge of collapsing. So in sort of the last movement here, they're like, okay, we will help you with the gold, but you've got to get us to safety. You've got to get us over the border into Iran. So let's go ahead and do that. So they get on like caravans and stuff. And the Americans at this point have given the refugees some of the gold, but the rest of the gold they've hidden so they can pick up later, obviously, because you can't just bring a bunch of gold bullion into the U.S. Army base without a bunch of questions being asked. So they are taking the refugees to the Iranian border, and they are stopped like feet away from it by the military, who has finally caught up to the remaining the eponymous three kings here. At first, the soldiers do not let them pass. and almost kill Mark Wahlberg because he's unable to like relieve the pressure in his lung because he's being handcuffed. Anyway, they're like, okay, we'll give you all the gold bullion if you let them through. So, we get away with mostly nothing, but just let these people live, let them, get into Iran and get to safety. And finally, the commander allows that to happen. And all of them would have been court-martialed and been in quite a lot of trouble, except for a sort of minor character who's a journalist who's there to record the whole thing and report on it. So in the epilogue here, the main soldiers are honorably discharged. They have like jobs back in the States. And there's the implication that some of the bullion was kept by the refugees to hopefully have a chance at a better life. What did we think of Three Kings?
I can go. I liked this. It is really fucking ugly looking, though. I assumed something was off about the version that I watched, like it was like an HDR version that was like encoded wrong, and it was in an SD
I kind of like
container.
that aspect,
but they didn't
like the colors being inaccurate and stuff.
Yeah. I was doing some reading on it, and I guess it was like I think it was like Ektachrome that was like cross processed and then bleach bypass. So it has like this absolutely like grungy look. There's a few scenes where it's actually really, really striking. There's the one with like the scene with the gas, and there's some really, really, I think they're like crossfades or something, where like people will just kind of like come out of the film grain of the movie, like they'll just sort of like phase into the scene, and like those shots worked really well. And I think as the movie goes on, it kind of like tones a lot of that down. But I thought I was like, what? I couldn't figure out why it looked like that for the first act or so. I supposedly it's meant to like emulate how newspaper photos looked from the time, which I don't really remember. I was like 0 to 1 year old at the time of the events of this movie, so I can't confirm one way or the other. But this is the first David O. Russell film I've ever seen. I always expected him to be more of like a Wes Anderson type. I think that's mostly because I know him from directing the movie I Heart Huckabees, where that infamous clip of him screaming at Lily Tomlin, who like correctly tears him down on set. And I guess I was expecting something a lot more like twee or something than what this is. This is like almost more like an early Michael Bay movie, because it has like this heavy stylization, a lot of kind of like jock humor in it. Like I was really kind of reminded of like Bad Boys 1 watching this. It's probably more tastefully done. Like it's kind of like Michael Bay without kind of the headache. Even though I like a lot of his movies, but like still it's a little less kind of relentless with it. My biggest complaint is that I think this movie, especially in the back half, acts like it has more nuance than something like 50 Cent Blood on the Sand. And I think it's pretty easy to see that it maybe doesn't. I like the Mark Wahlberg torture stuff is played almost like it's like deconstructing a lot of like the army kind of like frat humor stuff and from the beginning, where it's a lot of the jokes are like about like, like, oh, this guy's like a map up his ass, like, you don't touch it, that's gross or whatever. And then like you just see like fields of people being massacred and stuff. And then like they're constantly like, there's like the moral dilemma of like, do we save them? Do we go? And most of them are like, we should go. And then like they start like juxtaposing it with like hypothetical scenes where like Mark Wahlberg's family is getting like killed as if they lived in a war zone. And then like the guy's like, we're not so different, you and I. And then like 2 scenes later, there's a bunch of nameless brown people get mowed down by a helicopter. And then Spike Jonze died and he gets a big send off. And like it was like the movie said, like, well, now that we got that out of the way, back to the massacre. I don't think it's like horribly offensive or anything. I'm just skeptical of its sense of intellectual self-worth. I like the visual setting that's here. I like these sort of juxtapositions between like these vast deserts and like luxury items and like gold and like high-end cars, and like I think that works as like kind of like a surreal like kind of like setting. I really love the cast in it. I think they're all incredibly charismatic. Like Clooney does like a really good job. Ice Cube is really good in it. I mostly know him from like the Friday movies and stuff, so I was kind of surprised he like kind of didn't play that much into the movie's sense of humor, but like he did a really good job playing the kind of like the stoic one. Yeah, this was a lot of fun though. I like this quite a bit.
I saw this many times when I was young, to the point where, you know, it's 15, 20 years in remove, and I could quote, you know, lines that were coming, I could basically recite. Yeah, it's hideous, and it's weird. It does slightly, it becomes like more of a normal looking film towards the end, but it's a god awful, ugly thing, and their intent of making it look like photographs, like unfortunately doesn't matter, because it just looks like dog shit. And you know, there is a kind of like baseline like misery, I think, to the film. And it does, Jennifer, you're right. Like it wants to have its cake and to eat it too. It wants to have this idea of Mark Wahlberg, who is you know, completely detached from the idea of like being in a war. He's like, you know, one of the first, I think it's the first line, is like, "Are we shooting?"
Yeah,
you know, are we shooting? You know, like no grounding, simply not present. You know, the war just like not like meaningfully happening, at least not for like combat troops like Wahlberg, and certainly not for like the U.S. Army. But you have like this, like, you know, oh, he's detached, but then suddenly he encounters the enemy and then realizes the enemy is not entirely different from himself. Blah 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 blah. Who fucking cares? It doesn't work. The Jamie Kennedy stuff is just stupid. You know, you know, it's the Baudrillard, like, you know, the Gulf War never happened. It never happened because America had overwhelming aerial firepower, and the war wasn't fought on the ground. You know, it never, you know, in like it only happened in spectacle. It only played out in the media. It never really happened. And I think that's interesting, you know, like the Wahlberg character, they're all kind of like, they're not doing war, you know, like the characters in MASH are actively doing war more than these fucking guys are, at least in the beginning, right? Like, they're completely detached, and this movie wants to like recenter and be like, oh, but war is like serious, and and you know, people die and whatever, but it's only ever like exploitation level. Like it doesn't breach I think the heights of like war bad. You know, like it remains like fixed at this kind of like Hollywood liberalism of like, yeah, war bad, killing people bad, abandoning people bad, promising one thing.
But Soldier, very good.
And that's the thing is like the movie is like it wants to frame war as bad, but then it's like the soldiers plural within, are ultimately good. They are capable of redemptive acts that, like, you know, they're ameliorating the same harm that they're causing. You know, it's funny, like there isn't, you know, they ultimately don't change things. What they do is they, you know, George Clooney like teases the military brass and says like, I have a bunch of gold. Why don't you treat those people like human beings? So like, yeah, nevertheless, like framed, war is bad, but our valiant heroes and our brothers in arms and so on are good. And they're a force for good, if only, you know, they learn via torture that the other is just like them. I mean, this movie is like pockmarked with moments that I think are really like interesting, like visually, like the moment where you know, like there's bits of dialogue like you know, what's the issue with Michael Jackson? I fucking love that little back and forth. I love when he gets the CD. Something about the combination of the plastic shell CD jammed open with crude oil being
one of the
that
best
part was
scenes.
sick, yeah.
poured into Mark Wahlberg's. Like if that's not some kind of like cathartic like moment, especially for someone with a disposition like me, I don't know what the fuck is. But yeah, like it's like I mean it's a victim of its era. It's a victim of like ideas about itself, and it's like in seeing it, and like, I'm gonna stop talking in a second, but seeing it in retrospect like this, you know, there's a line. Sorry, let me bring it up here. It's said in kind of like a joking way. We're exercising the ghosts of Vietnam with a clear moral imperative, which is like saving brown people from other brown people. But then there's
That's so haunting.
Yeah, it's so haunting. and then there's the line of, well, what do you want to do? Occupy Iraq and do Vietnam all over? I mean, what? Sorry, is this 99? Right? 98?
Yeah.
99,
so,
I think.
Yeah, so just a couple years, we would occupy Iraq and do Vietnam all over. It's fucking
The Metal Gear
crazy.
2 of films, man.
Yeah. and sorry, I'm really gonna shut up after this, but like scrolling through the Wikipedia, and I think I got to Spike Jonze's Wikipedia, there's a photograph of him meeting the president, Bill Clinton, at the White House for a screening of this film. And I'm just like, what the fuck? I'm just like, you know, I feel like a fucking crazy person. But I mean, this movie is like in some way aware of itself by positioning George Clooney as like a guy who's then going to go on to simulate war in Hollywood. So like, it's just like, it's weird. Like this is like a profoundly weird, like blindly prophetic film. That's like, it's also ugly, and I don't, I get why it was popular in my household when I was a child, but like as an adult, it just it's like when you touch a piece of fabric that makes your spine chill up in a fucking weird way. That's what this film is to me now.
I kind of agree with you guys on like the second half of the film, how it's kind of a weird tonal shift. Like obviously it's supposed to like follow a arc of them discovering empathy and that like other people exist in the world too, but it's done in like such a, like, I think if they did it a little bit less serious, it would have a stronger effect, because like by like making the final part of the film far more serious than the rest of it, it kind of like, I don't know, it just seemed inauthentic compared to the first part of the film. That being said, though, I thought like it's a really fun movie in like a cinematic sense. You know, like you follow these characters on this like wacky journey to find the treasure. It's kind of like a pirate film to some extent. I really like the visuals. Like I kind of agree with you guys that they're all kind of like disgusting, but I don't know, I really think it works for, like, it's more of a surface level of making a film disgusting versus like showing a bunch of blood and guts like Private Ryan or something, but it's all shot in like beautiful bokeh. Like the actual images themselves are gross, which I really enjoyed. I like a lot of the cinematic imagery, the like fast forwarding clouds with the like psychotic colors in the sky that were psychedelic. I like the like anti hi-fi approach to like the special effects, where like they look like claymation almost, like they're so bad. Like the organs and the
I loved
like,
those so much.
The people
like,
getting shot in the head with the like, you know, squirt gun behind his head, and he just like closes his eyes in some like unbelievable way. I don't know. It was like stuff like that, like I think makes the film fun to watch. And I think they're trying to like ninja in some like, oh yeah, it was a fun movie, but you learned a lesson in there, didn't you? It's like, oh no, you really did something with that, thanks. Oh, I really liked the kind of periodness of it. It's like a period piece of events that happened like 7 years before the movie was filmed, which is a bit weird, but that's kind of like Metal Gear does that too. They always set it like 7 or 8 years in the future.
I think it really works.
Yeah, it's a really cool way to look at, or to make a period piece about something that everyone remembers and like has like evidence and the products and everything to make it. I don't know, I just thought that aspect of it was pretty cool. Oh, and then the other thing, I think it's kind of sad that like these type or these like scope of films aren't really around anymore. Like maybe I'm out of touch, maybe they do make these, but these kind of like low mid-budget type films with like good act or like recognizable actors that like you can kind of just make for, I don't know, 50, 60 million or something. I feel like those don't get made anymore because they always have to be tied into some IP or something. They can't just have a new story with new characters.
Yeah.
I might be out of touch. So maybe stuff has come out like that I've just missed.
Not
Only with A24.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Even those are mostly like art films or like art leaning films, or horror films. You rarely see like action films like that.
Yeah, like these like are movies that are just like entertaining for the amount of time you watch them. You know, it's not like Craig. It sounds like you are the exception. I think most people probably watched this movie and forgot about it a week later.
I've seen this movie way too many times to forget about it.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I struggled with this one. I mean, it's not the movie's fault per se. It's just like the times we're living in, and when we're recording this episode, it was tough. I had to pause the movie a bunch. I'm just in a fragile mindset these days, I guess. I do agree that I think the movie is kind of ugly. However, even though it's giving like we have Beau Travail at home, it does have like these sort of like MTV era war movie touches that I appreciate. Like the first time I felt like the movie had momentum for me was when they're off the Humvee and Clooney is describing what happens when you get a gunshot wound, and you get these very 2000 like interior shots of like somebody's like chest cavity filling with like, you know, bile and whatever. So like it does have these sort of very this sort of like Y2K era touches to them that I do think gives the movie a little visual sizzle that I like. I do think that there are individual scenes that I think are quite good. I also really love when they make Wahlberg chug motor oil. That was quite prescient. There was a film critic, I can't remember who said this now, but it was like that the premiere like movie about the conflicts, America's like need for oil, movie about that hasn't been made yet. So like Desert Storm, through the War on Terror to today, like that movie hasn't been made yet the way that like the great iconic Vietnam War films already exist and were made. And I do think that it's because of problems like this, and I think it's because of the messaging around these wars and this kind of thing is that it seems like filmmakers, especially contemporaneously, and maybe like with even more time and space, we can get there. But it seems like filmmakers, like The Hurt Locker has this problem as well, where like because of the way this war was messaged about how, this is really like I would say even more so than Vietnam, like the valorization of the soldier, right? Like, and like that becoming like propaganda, like the individual soldier is the hero, not the U.S. Armed Forces, but like the guy that you went to high school with in Missouri is a hero. And that you are then sort of unable to do like what Full Metal Jacket does, where like you have these scenes that this movie has where like you watch the evil arm of empire do wanton death and destruction across the countryside, just like in Full Metal Jacket. But then you sort of have to couch it, right? There has to be these heroic moments where these individual soldiers redeem themselves to you, the viewer, compared to something like Full Metal Jacket, where you're like, even if you like Animal Mother, that guy's a fucking scumbag. Even if you like Joker, like he's like a broken person who's not like, I don't know, he's like a shambling husk when they're doing the Mickey Mouse song at the end of the movie. And it seems like, unfortunately, with these, any war movie made about these conflicts sort of has to include a little bit of valorization. I don't mean to say that I think this movie is in any way cynical or propagandistic. I think it's just like, this is how this war was messaged. And I think it's quite insidious because people go to the movies ostensibly to see, the valiant war hero, which is expected. But I do think that's what keeps it from being from hitting its goals, really, because the movie it's an anti-war movie. There's so many scenes where the characters are like, what was any of this fucking for? But I don't think it can go there the way like Apocalypse Now and Full Metal Jacket can go there, because that's not how this war was branded. This war was branded as in the guy you worked with at the grocery store was there. He was probably nice. And so there is, I think, a little bit of a failure of imagination that, like, despite this war being equally as gruesome as, these previous conflicts that have these great war pictures about them, Saving Private Ryan, Apocalypse Now, we're unable to get there. And I do think it's just the messaging, because I do think there are great individual scenes of anti-war messaging, but overall, I think there are just these equally big American Sniper kind of moments.
Do you think that, like, maybe the proximity of, like, making the film to, like, the events have anything to do with, like, the kind of like tonal decisions?
100%. Yeah. I
like,
definitely
people
think
who are still alive, like, maybe I just imagine, like, a good faith representation of their intentions, that maybe they were like, oh, well, these people are still alive, versus like making a Vietnam film in the 90s or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, again, I don't think any of this was done in bad faith. Like, I think they set out to make the anti-war picture that you do see in glimpses in this movie. Like, again, I do think that's definitely there. But I think you're right, Joel, that it is an issue of, like, temporal distance because it's so recent. I do think it's to do with the way this, I think it's a lot to do with how all of these conflicts, from Desert Storm through the War on Terror to what we're doing now, are branded. Where it seems like there's like extra messaging put forward to being like, oh, all these brave young men can't be wrong. Whereas it seems like for Vietnam, I'm sure they tried, but it just didn't work. And it just seems like probably because we're more connected than ever, via social media, via mass media, it's just easier to brand wars this way. So like maybe in the next 10, 20 years, we can get like the conflict in the Middle East by American Empire movie. But yeah, it seems like I haven't seen it yet. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist, I guess, but I haven't seen it.
I think the conflict itself not being resolved really puts a difficulty on like a storytelling aspect, because like you're saying, like yesterday literally the US bombed Iran, and like that's a major player in this film of they're trying to get these refugees to Iran, where like like a World War II film doesn't have to worry about like the actual political effects of Nazi Germany anymore. Like after 1945, they weren't an issue. Like there's like been no resolution to any of these conflicts, or any meaningful one. Like these conflicts are still like they change and just keep going.
Yeah, I mean that could be it too, right? Because like ever since Vietnam, they're like, oh, what we need is a war that doesn't end ever. And so that's what they were doing. Like they were soft launching it with China, right? And then they're like, oh no, wait, it's actually still way easier to just do stuff with Israel. That's actually like ready-made to do war with. So like it's just like I think that could be, yeah, because it doesn't have a narrative arc, right?
Yeah,
so like,
there's not like a final end of the story or anything, that you can be like, this is why this happened, this led to this happened, this is what we learned.
And I'm thinking like this isn't about this movie, but I'm thinking of like The Hurt Locker, when like Jeremy Renner goes home and he like can't fit into society anymore or whatever, which is an interesting sort of character study, but like that's really all you can do, because like you're saying there isn't a conclusion to the war. Like all you can do is be Mark Wahlberg and open up a carpet store or like something absolutely inane like that.
Yeah, no one's turning into Christopher Walken from the end of The Deer Hunter.
Yeah, and then sort of what Jennifer said, because how do I put this? In Full Metal Jacket, like the soldiers are pretty much ciphers, right? Like Joker might have a real name, I don't know what it is, but like you know like 3 facts about that guy. Like he's just like a fucked up guy in Vietnam, and like all of the characters like 2 things about. They're not like supposed to be real people so much. So like when you do have this movie that sort of like Jennifer was saying, where like these 3 armed insurgents basically get to be people who get to go home and open carpet stores, and then like the 75 brown extras who just got like iced by a helicopter. Like I don't know, like it just feels, especially when it's like still happening and still going on. And again, I don't think this was a bad faith thing on Russell's part, but it's just like it feels like you didn't really capture the evil of war entirely. You didn't bottle it the way that Vietnam has bottled it. And maybe you're right. Maybe it is because the conflict is just a forever war. It's not finite.
Yeah, I really think that that's evident in the fabric of the film, of them perhaps even realizing what they're doing by, once again, George Clooney being a military advisor to Hollywood films about war. Like, you know, the movie is aware of itself as being a kind of spectacle configuration of what was already a spectacle, played out largely on people's televisions. There were no casualties, at least on our side. And the movie's like, oh, we're on the level. Like, we're aware of the fact that we're making a film about this thing and that we're dramatizing it. So we're gonna, like, you know, have George Clooney, like the character himself, actually be engaged in making the spectacle of a film. But it's like, but that's, I mean, the movie's, it feels like an attempt at some kind of like apology or something. That it's like, oh, but we know very well what we're doing. Which, like, to me isn't enough, you know. Like, I don't care that these filmmakers were self-aware, but they're still giving, Wahlberg, the nice, platonic ideal of a marriage. He doesn't simply work at a carpet store anymore. He owns one. He's the owner of a small. We love our small business owners. It's like that kind of shit. Yeah. He gets to live out his ideal life without the threat of bombs and shit. Yeah.
Which maybe was to the point of, like, the dark comedy of the movie, like, for sure, because, like, I'm willing to give them that much credit, but in that case, I think it should have been even more biting.
Right.
Like, if these people do get to go home and do the deeds of empire and then come home and run carpet stores, and I think I want election levels of, like, bitingness about it.
Right. Like, really hit them hard, Yeah.
Or, like, go completely in the opposite direction of, like, Verhoeven-esque satire or something, where, like, life is meaningless, and, like, or like how Michael Bay probably would have made it. Like actually commit to the bit in some, like, over the top way, or
I thought that would have been better too.
Yeah.
Like don't. I feel like that's where the last part of the movie just kind of falls flat. Like, it's like you just spent the whole time of them, like, using every creative way to say, like, a slur for Middle Eastern people, and they're like, actually, like, they're kind of real people now I think about it. Like,
yeah, damn, that's crazy. Yeah,
I love that. But, it's the Spike Jonze character is able to channel some kind of, like, confusion. Like he's the one that perceives the contradictions a little bit more clearly because he's so fucking stupid. He's like, oh, we can say these slurs, but we can't say these slurs because they specifically complicate the relationship with Ice Cube's character. But then there's a line that I really, really love, and it's something to the effect of, well, like, we're on good terms with the Saudis. So it's not like all of them. It's like a particular subset. He's trying to grapple with this idea of, like, how to appropriately use a slur while paying deference to the complicated racial composition of the U.S. Army, and also acknowledging the regional allies. Like, it's like having a dumbass, like, meet up against that and kind of, like, try to, like, that. I think that might be, like, one of the more, like, intelligent ways that, like, the Jonze character is used, is that, like, he perceives things, like, a little more clearly, a little more lucidly, because everyone else, Ice Cube's, like, too bound up in his Ring of Jesus fire. Mark Wahlberg's too busy on his fucking journey of like, self-discovery. And George Clooney's doing a special ops shit. But the Jonze character's like, but why? He's trying to grapple with like big existential questions that everyone else is taking kind of matter of factly. Like, I don't know. There's something about the Jonze character that feels particularly. Of course, it's funny because he's a redneck and he's an idiot, and there's that, like, jackass-esque humor of the Jonze character, and he likes explosions and shit. So he's Americana, but he also gets to, like, see things through this, like, gaze that is once, like, idiotic, but perhaps like a little more like a little more existential. Like you can see like the broader picture because everyone else is like intent on not seeing it. Anyway, I do love that. Like, but we don't say that about the Saudis or whatever that line is. It's fucking great.
There's that one where he's explaining to him that like, oh no, you can be racist to the Middle Eastern people, not the black people. Like where it's like by saying it this way, it's offensive to black people as well. You can't do that. He's like,
Right.
oh, okay, I got you now. I get that. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's like some of the sharper, dark humor of this era. Like, in this movie made me think of Death to Smoochie for some fucking reason, because you have like at that point an established like serious actor in Edward Norton, and then fucking what's his face,
Robin Williams.
But you know, the idea of like how to calibrate dehumanization, you know, like because it's not ever like he's speaking it out loud because he doesn't understand it, you know, because it is fundamentally like irrational and like and manufactured, right? It's a condition that's like manufactured by propaganda, by, you know, designating XYZ group as enemy, and not ABC groups as enemy. You know what I mean? Like it's there's friction there because he doesn't know how to calibrate the party line.
Yeah. Well, and like, I'll stop contrasting them, but like, you know, when they're like insanely outrageously racist in Full Metal Jacket, it's because they're evil people. Like they're like they've been driven by the perhaps non-consensually, but they've been driven to this point of essentially blood madness, right? So like, if they're racist, it's, you know, they're also murderers. Like, of course they are. But like, if, you know, we're watching them, you know, like you said, try to negotiate which slurs are appropriate, you know, based on who's like, you know, allowed to be dehumanized or not, because, you know, the individual soldier must remain valorous in some way. It's just it's like amusing, I guess, to like watch Spike Jonze try to figure out what slurs are appropriate. But it's it's tough. It's a tough line to have to walk, and I don't know that they did.
And this isn't a nut that I'm even capable of cracking, and this isn't the time or place to crack it. But for anyone interested, I would really encourage you to Google or kind of search out like the racist dynamics between black troops and white troops in like World War II. Like this is not like the movie is pointing at a thing that's very real. I mean, there was like, you know, like one likes the idea, the fantasy Band of Brothers idea that like Americans came together, race, color, creed, irrespective, and fought a common foe together. No, Google like the racial politics of like how white troops treated black troops in World War II. Like it's not like, you know, all these things of empire, like all the kind of like internal contradictions, all the kind of like self-devouring hatreds, not only like get like exported, are also part of like the apparatus that's like inflicting it, you know. It's like a hideous like feedback loop within the machine itself, that's also externalizing it on a like common enemy. It's very fucked up. And again, I'm not qualified to crack that nut. You know, just hit that Google.
In an effort to be more fun, I liked when they blew up the cow.
That was good. Yep.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like, just fun stuff in this movie. Like
It's
a lot
a
of times
fun
it kind of. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. No.
I was gonna say I was kind of reminded of like Fury Road in a few places because it's kind of like this one big like quest to do this thing for most of the movie, and like I thought it was like paced really well too, except for the part where it kind of stops 2/3 of the way through. But like the action scenes were pretty good. I was reading that like they didn't really shoot multiple angles on explosions or anything, which is like pretty kind of risky because you kind of like are stuck with whatever you got, you know.
I didn't even notice that.
So like
that's interesting.
Yeah, so like a lot of like the explosions feel immediate and like in the scene, and like I think they have like a cool kind of dynamic from that, you know?
I think it has kind of like a blinders of it. Like it looks like you're like kind of through a scope. Like a lot of movies will really show you like the above shot, the one from the guy looking from across the road to like really give you like a 3D like scanned image of the scene. And this is just kind of like, you know, you're in a video game and you got smacked around and you don't know which direction you came from and you're just looking at all these things happening, trying to figure them out, you know?
The Call of Duty red goo flies
effect
on the screen.
Yeah.
Like, oh wait, this is a new part of the map. Oh, where did I just come from? I have to look around and find some landmark. Oh, something just blew up.
Yeah, the set piece where when they are taking the refugees in the gold, when they still have the trucks, when it's like you know, they're like going over the mines and stuff, and there's that great shot where Wahlberg inside of the truck is like inches from like hitting a mine.
Yeah.
Oh, that was great.
That whole set piece is pretty interestingly shot.
The helicopter explosion looked pretty cool. I assume it must have been like a miniature or something, but worked great.
It was a fun payoff for the football thing.
Yeah, I like how that comes back multiple times. Where like they'll just use it as a way to drop C4 like into a vent or something that's attached to a football.
It really connects it to like the consumerism like of the 90s and stuff too, you know?
Oh yeah.
Like of how there's always like products and they're talking about like brand names and like like, you know, these Nerf footballs your kids are playing with might save their lives one day if they have to throw some C4 down a chimney.
Yeah, there's like a Bart Simpson doll, I think on like the front of their Humvee.
Yep.
Oh, there's like a conversation earlier in the movie where they had I think it's Spike Jonze and Ice Cube are arguing about like black quarterbacks and like how
that was during the football scene. That was probably my favorite scene. The skeet shooting Nerf balls.
It looks fun. I'd like to try it. But at the end of it, Ice Cube like throws the football. And like I was expecting him to like have like some sort of one-liner about like no good black quarterbacks, huh? You know, but like it didn't do that, and I was kind of like happy, or I was like satisfied that I could make the connection to the scene earlier on my own, and I didn't need like a quip to do it. I felt like that was the movie briefly respecting my intelligence.
Very briefly.
It's because they were playing J.S. Bach behind that. That was for the smart people.
Really gets the brain moving.
That one was for the fans.
Yeah, that one really deep in the
all the mega minds out there. Here comes some Bach.
Maybe Funke is in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Aaliyah Shawkat's the daughter.
Yeah, that's crazy. I was looking at the cast list while I had the movie paused because I was looking up someone else, and then I just saw her, that was her, and I like kept like looking at like a freeze frame of her. I'm like, I don't see it. But yeah,
maybe she's such a bait. Like she's tiny. She's teeny tiny. You know, she's clearly been in Hollywood for fucking ever. I mean, she was even young in Arrested Development. You know, that I really, not to bring it back to like the heavy again. The idea that like there's a Max Payne bullet time execution of an innocent woman in this film is like so like beyond like the pale. It's completely unnecessary. You know, all this like you know, the American military, you know, they roll up and they're being completely ignored while this like this drama plays out in front of them, and they're told this is none of your business, carry on, take the gold. But that idea that I get that this movie is trying to give them an inciting incident through which they find like humanity, like they find like a moral fight to fight, and not simply one of like avarice and greed, of getting the gold or whatever. But my God, if it's so it feels so like so brutal. I mean, it happens in front of her husband, who's just been freed from torture. Happens in front of her, you know, tiny daughter, who's then like, crying for a solid 3 or 4 minutes over her mother's fucking corpse. And it's like, it's the movie's like attempt to like, undercut the like, God bless USA and all the shit where like, Mark Wahlberg's crowd surfing with a squirt gun or whatever. But like, it's so just beyond, it's vulgar. It's really disgusting, like there's like a pool of blood, it's fucking, it's too tactile. It's too real. And it's meant to like, again, redirect the characters towards like what the movie views as like a more moral end. But like, my God, like it's just so like exploitative and awful.
It's like overly stylized.
Yeah, that's part of the problem, is that it's overly stylized. It is a Max Payne bullet time death. That's fucking crazy.
It's really kind of like Rambo 4 when they're like blowing up those people in the rice paddies, and it's like, look how fucked up this is, like, can you believe they do this?
I was gonna say one of the ways I thought was just like completely tone deaf is like, because near the end, the final third, they're trying to like very kind of like boneheadedly humanize the Iraqi people. And one of the ways they do it is there's like some guy who's like, yeah, I'm a salon or a barber. I just want to cut hair. He's like, this guy just wants to do a business cutting hair, man. Like, oh dude, he serves capital like me, dude. He just wants to serve capital, man. Like this guy's just like, he's a real person too. He licks boots. Like he wants to start a business, man. He wants to be a small business tyrant.
For me, I know that other people are people when they also are excited to do business.
Yeah, when they're excited to be a faithful employee to someone. Okay, that's a real person. I can get behind that.
Yeah. That's the only way that others can communicate humanity. Yeah.
You have to find a common language, and they have to be respectable in your eyes. They can't be base. They can't be rude. They can't be curt. They have to also like be enthusiastic about having like a capital, like a hustle or like a dream or something. And it's like, well, no, I mean,
isn't that American?
So that's the thing that like, that's the thing Obama would always fucking say, and I always fucking hated it, where it's like, like Muslims are like they're doctors and they're lawyers and they serve their communities, and I'm like, but that's not. See, that's great and that's awesome.
Even if they don't, though?
Yeah, but that's the thing. Even if they don't, like, also fine. Also,
like, I get, like, if I'm being good faith, I think he's just trying to speak to, like, chuds and people who can only think like that. But, like, it's still a bit just stupid, I guess.
Yeah, no. What I wanted him to hear, what I wanted him to say always was like, I the doctors and the lawyers and the man in his living room that's calling a 12-year-old a faggot on Call of Duty. Like it's not we want a big umbrella here, because again, like this movie, whether it wants to or not, is still falling victim to this like propaganda of showing Muslim people as brutalizers of Muslim people, and it takes the Western white people largely to stop them, and that's what that execution scene is. It's like, look at how brutal the brown person is to the brown person. Shouldn't we intervene? It's like it's like a microcosm of the war itself. Like it's like micro macro. We have to intervene because look at how brutal they are. It's just like, it's so fucked up. Whether it wants to or not, it's still playing into the hand of like the soldier, the evil enemy soldier that kills without compunction and like with empathy or whatever, and like, don't we have to stop it? It
does still use the framing of the things that they criticize, right? Like it's using the it's accepting the framing of all the things they're trying to critique, which is a bit like of a go ahead.
Yeah, he's a militant. He has a like a lot of the character, like the good character who's been freed from torture does not have a beard. The guy who kills has this beard. like he's the Disney's long like history of like caricaturing, Hollywood's long history of caricaturing people like is happening here. Like it's happening here, and like I don't know if they think they're dodging it, but they're not.
Yeah, and Joel, that was like my that was like, I mean, you just summarized better than I did like why this movie fails in ways that other anti-war pictures don't for me, is that like, yeah, it uses the things that in other scenes it criticizes.
Yeah.
And I do think it's good faith. I just think it's like it's been fairly successfully branded, in American culture.
I think it's difficult to like, especially because I think this movie is really like, it's trying to like send them, like, it's like, we'll lure you in with the racism and the Nerf footballs and the Lexus, and then we'll like sneak the message in there, which like I mean, it provably is. It's the only film probably that has direct proof of its ineffectiveness. 4 years later, another war started that they were trying to start. Like there's no other thing that has failed the test so hard, right?
Rambo 3.
Yeah, that another one. Yeah, it's set in the Middle East.
To me, that might be the defining film of the war on terror.
This one was probably sooner, though. Like, this was only 4 years later, and they're like, we'll re-release it, man. Like, we don't got to make a new one. We already made the film, dude.
And that's the thing about the idea of it, like, being premiered at the White House with Spike Jonze and, like, Bill Clinton. And I mean, this photo is real. Please Google it. Spike Jonze, Bill Clinton. I mean, that's a demonstration that this film is already neutered, because it's already been incorporated into the national security state, right? It's like if it's if the president is on board, it's inert. It's completely
not hard
inert.
enough.
Right? Yeah. It does nothing.
The acting was good. I did like all the performances.
Everyone's really good in it.
Well, I think that's like
slaps. Yeah.
The end is so bad because like or not bad, I shouldn't say, like the end is like so ineffective because it's like it's lame and unfun and crying, while the rest of the film with all the evil parts are like sick and super cool and slick and funny and enjoyable. And then it's like, oh man, we're getting to the lame part where we got to be nice to people, like I think they wove that into the language of the first 2/3. I think the effect would have been a bit more like potent. I don't know, it's hard to say. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's the fault of the writing that like suddenly these like cartoonish characters are going to be engaged in the melodrama of life and death on the battlefield. But again, it really even in spite of that, like Ice Cube is fantastic, and I think like the delivery of his belief in the protective power of his faith is actually really fucking good. And like Jennifer said, this is coming from the star of Friday in Friday's many sequels, which again, he's also fantastic in that. It's a different type of, Cousin Craig's a little bit different than and I had to live with that for my entire fucking life, incidentally, in my early years. But like Spike Jonze again is doing a very fucking, like, they're all killing it except for Jamie Kennedy, who shouldn't be in the movie.
No, probably not.
But like, no, they're all like, they're fucking good. It's like they're and even Marky Mark, he's doing a fucking good job.
This is back when he still tried.
Exactly. Yeah, this is like you know, like in terms of like him trying, it's like Boogie Nights level.
Yeah, he used to be kind of good at this.
Yeah.
I'd say this is probably the Natural Born Killers of anti-war films. In style and
astute.
That's pretty dead on, honestly.
Yeah, another filthy looking film with filthy content.
I should probably finish that movie. I turned it off last time I tried.
It's not even worth it. It's just
saw
gross.
enough of it.
Do we have any final thoughts about, I almost said Natural Born Killers. Do we have any final thoughts about Three Kings?
I was gonna shut the fuck up about it when I saw it in Last Boy Scout, but now it's reared its head here. C4 is malleable.
I thought the
when you
same thing.
When you shoot it, it doesn't explode.
Yup.
That's just it's not. You need a blasting cap. So
You
that
can
occurs
actually
in
light it on fire and it'll
Yep.
burn without exploding.
and that's part of its like its use value is that it's like safe and portable, and in fact it's used as armor. It's reactive armor in tanks where if like a Sable or something is like trying to penetrate the armor of the tank, there's C4, and this is just some tanks where it's so inert that it's in the armor of a tank that it helps dampen the projectile that's trying to pierce the armor. So shooting it doesn't work. In short,
Do they shoot it?
It's
So,
in the football.
it's the
in the football.
in the football.
Oh, I thought they
football,
just.
yeah.
I thought they always like remote detonated them or something.
No, they were doing like shuttlecocks. No, what is it called when you're skeet shooting?
Skeet shooting.
Skeet shooting the football with C4, and they shot the football and it blew up.
He accidentally
Do
threw
they
one
shoot
that had
it
C4
there?
attached to it, and then he's like, "What the heck?" He's like, "Sorry, that one had C4."
Oh, I thought he just threw it and it exploded.
Oh no, it got shot.
Oh,
think it
okay.
got shot.
Sorry.
Anyway,
The
that's
one
a
thi-
sin. Cinema sin.
Yeah. Also, I can't believe
Ding.
depleted uranium didn't show up in the film at all. Like, that's a Gulf War kind of, same sentence
Yeah.
type thing.
Yeah, oh, totally. The
I
armor
was
piercing.
sad. I was pretty sad about that.
It would fit perfectly with the infected pockets full of bile info.
Yup.
Yeah.
Gulf War syndrome.
Yeah, exactly.
She just had a scene where they find the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq.
Do you guys have any final thoughts? Is that the end of them?
It's fun. I'd check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
If this sort of thing appeals to you, yeah, I think I think it's definitely worth checking out.
Oh, I like
I-
the one of the scenes I thought, I mean, maybe it wasn't there for humor, but I found it hilarious was they really thought they were cooking with the phone call from Mark Wahlberg to his wife, where like she's having like domestic issues and her life is really stressful, and he's like getting crude oil force fed down his throat, and he's like, "I'm having a hard day too, honey," and it's supposed to be this juxtaposition of like what war is and then like the safe life everyone in America lives. But like I don't know, it's just hilarious, man. If you watch it, like I don't know, I thought there was just some like kind of grim, like, oh man, this guy like really thought he cooked here.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
could when I saw that. Like, I'm sorry to keep going back to Michael Bay, but I was just thinking about how like someone as like deeply hateful as Michael Bay would direct that scene, and like she would be the most like shrewd like taskmaster wife who's like, why don't you know when you get back? I mean, like,
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah.
just like be like super aggressive towards him, and then he has to like yell at her back, and then like it was a weird scene, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been.
Tying it back to the beginning, they had to mansplain to her what military conflict was.
I'm gonna call that a full circle moment.
Yeah.
sweetie, a click is a kilometer. Sweetie.
Actually, C4 doesn't explode when you shoot it.
Honey, Charlie stands for C. It's code. That's what cool people talk about.
I gave this 2.5 stars. I admit that might be a little low, and I was having a hard day.
I think I gave it 3.5. If you know what type of guy you are and you've listened this far, you'll know whether you'd enjoy it or not. Like it's one
Yeah.
of those things where you can sit down and enjoy it. But if you're not that type of guy, you're not gonna enjoy it. And guy is gender neutral in this case, incidentally.
Yeah, 3.5. I liked it.
3.5 from me as well. I think it's an enjoyable movie. I think if you want to have fun with it, you can. If you want to be more critical, obviously there's plenty of stuff to criticize about it. Kind of like choose your own adventure watching it.
Yeah, if we recorded this like a week ago instead of right now, I think the episode may have been a little different.
Okay, so 3.5 then?
Yeah, that works.
Fantastic. Joel, pleasure as always. Thank you so much for coming back on the
Thanks
show.
for having me on. It's fun.
Is there anything you've been watching lately that you want to shout out?
No, I've just been watching like Giga Chad edits on TikTok.
What's that mean?
So they're edits with like where the punchline's kind of like, oh dude, that guy's badass, and it's like set to like music and like one of the big ones.
I'm typing Giga Chad edit into TikTok.
Oh no! Don't play any. Wait for my explanation.
Okay.
So like one of the. Have you seen Attack on Titan?
Yeah.
So one of the like classic ones I see a lot is like Captain Levi edits, where it'll be like Zeke, the Beast Titan, being like, one soldier can pose a danger to me. I'm the Beast Titan, and then it's just like a picture of Captain Levi comes up. It's like, goo, and he's like, so then it cuts
with the Giga Chad face.
Yeah, well, not the Giga Chadness is implied with the music and the like kind of just like zooming in on his face, and then it sharp cuts to him just slicing them to pieces. And he's like, how could he have done this? What a monster. And then you see like him with like blood on his face, and that's it. It's like 10 to 15 seconds.
That's kind of artful. There's restraint there.
I'm getting really into the medium. I gotta admit, I started watching it ironically, but at this point, I mean, I can't fool anyone by saying it's ironic anymore.
Don't those usually have those like those wobbly twist transitions and zoom transitions in them, right? Like to the beat.
One of my favorite ones was this like Malaysian or Filipino. Like I don't know the language. I just know they have like Latin characters. Like edit of the USS Yorktown from the Battle of Midway in World War II,
yes.
set to like anime music, and then like all the comments are like, "Oh, USS Enterprise, where are my brothers? Big sister, I am here. Yorktown, just in time." Like, I don't know. They're absolutely insane, but like, I don't know. I just like the.
You like the medium. You like the scene.
I like the lack of sanity. Really, like no one's trying to be sane there. I find it interesting.
Where can people find you online?
Probably Twitter at Sonic_RL.
Well, thank you again for coming on. We love having you, Joel.
Yeah, thanks so much.
You can find the show wherever you get your podcasts. So that is Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube. So give us a follow there, subscribe, rate, review, all of that stuff that you love to do. And you can, we have a Patreon as well. So it's patreon.com/swimfans. For as low as $1 a month, you can have access to the entire backlog of Patreon episodes that are only for the real doves, okay? Only for the real heads out there. So if you want to hear about those, which truly run the gamut of topics, you can get them on the Patreon. And thank you so much to the patrons. And you can find the show on all the social medias. Instagram, Blue Sky, Letterboxd, it's user SwimFansPod, swimfanspod.com on Blue Sky. And I am on all of those same spots, user Amons, AMONNS. Do you guys want to hear about The Fall or Bring Her Back?
The Fall, the Tarsem movie?
Yeah.
Have you seen it before?
No, but I've seen it now.
Oh, I want to hear your thoughts on The Fall. I like that movie a lot.
Okay, great. So I just saw The Fall. The Fall was astounding. I loved it. I thought it was amazing. I will say, caveat, I was kind of stoned. But it went
valid.
so fucking it went so fucking hard, dude. Like, what a wonderful movie about the relationship between audience and filmmaker, or like listener and storyteller. About how, when you tell stories, when you communicate art, that story also in a way becomes the listener's story, the recipient story as well. Tremendous. Loved it. The visual style is everything you love about The Cell, but just better, bolder. Eiko Ishioka should be on the dollar bill. I've said that before. I'll say it again. Just divine. I think that Tarsem Singh is one of like the finest visual stylists of the medium. Like after The Fall, I'm like, that guy's got the fucking juice, man. I would. It just looks incredible. I love The Fall. I don't have anything bad to say about it. Jennifer.
You can follow me on Blue Sky, diatron5.swimfanspod.com. I'm on Letterboxd Diatron. Oh, I finished Serial Experiments Lane.
Let's fucking go.
I did not expect that to be what that was.
Nobody does. That's how they get you.
That I don't know if I want to spoil it, but it was a lot more audacious than I was expecting it to be. There's a few things where like there's a few monologues in it that I think could have used some tightening up. They don't quite like I'm a big fan of like turn of the millennium Japanese monologues about the impact of technology, like Metal Gear. Love a Metal Gear monologue. I don't think they're that good, personally, but they are still quality. But like that is a crazy thing, man. I put this in my Letterboxd review, but like I finished the show like super late at night on like Friday or something, and so I like went to bed around like 1:20 something, like still pretty awake. And then like every night I sleep with earbuds in just to like listen to something so I'm not thinking, drown out the horrors. And they weren't charged for some reason, so I had to just sit there with my thoughts about Serial Experiments Lane, and I don't know, it was getting to me in a way that a lot of art usually doesn't. So shout outs to that thing. I'm really curious about the PlayStation game.
I don't even know what that would be about.
So it's like it seems less like a game and more like an interactive media gallery where like you slowly move through like short clips of like a psychologist like interviewing Lane, and then you have to kind of like personally piece together the narrative from fragments. It seems really weird. Someone converted it into a website where because it was only released in Japan, but someone made like just like a website comp like to mimic sort of the feeling of going through it. I want to poke around that thing. Yeah, check that out. High recommendation. Craig.
You can find me at Craig Neeson on Instagram and Letterboxd, craigneeson.com. This morning, literally this morning, 10 a.m., because tickets were fucking cheap, I saw 28 Weeks Later. Danny Boyle directed, Alex Garland written, sequel to the sequel. I mean, it's an anthology film, so it doesn't matter. It's not a continuation of the story.
Weeks or years?
I'm sorry?
What movie did you see?
28 Years Later.
Oh, okay.
What did I say? Did I not say that? Oh.
You may have said weeks. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. 28 Years Later, rather. 28 Weeks Later is terrible because they introduced an American character in the form of Jeremy Renner, and I have no desire to revisit it. I liked it. I liked it in spite of Alex Garland's writing. Turns out I still have a bone to pick with the big... I'm not going to call him the big guy. He's not the big guy. I could probably beat him in a fight. Yeah, no, I think it matches the original's general disposition of like world is fucked but there's hope, and the puking of blood and the shitty handheld DV with like like contemporary in giant air quotes, like crane photography that's high def and whatever. I like there's parts of it that I want to hate but I can't or something. And it ends with the most like just insane, you have to fucking see it to believe the ending. And I hate that I just said that because it's an awful thing. But it's clear that they had fun with it. So overall, if you like 28 Days Later, which is a fucking masterpiece, like Dyed in the Wool, 5 out of 5, perfect movie, you'll enjoy 28 Years Later, I think. I had fun anyway. It's not that good, but I had fun.
Fantastic.
Fuck you, Alex Garland.
All right, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.